What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and welcome to episode 20 of our 30-part series on every single GMAX Pokemon. This is going to be your guide on how to use Gmax Urshifu Rapid Strike, probably the best GMAX in all of Pokemon. But as always, guys, I am not alone. Give a huge Ocean welcome to one of the greatest competitive Pokemon players on YouTube, Joey PokeaimMD. How's it going, man?
That's quite the intro. Yo, what's up, guys? You got PokeaimMD here. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime, honestly. But today we're going to be talking about Urshifu, which is one of my favorite Pokemon in general. So if you guys are excited for another GMAX guide, then make sure to smash the like button and, of course, subscribe to the channel for more competitive Pokemon content. Now, Joey, we always start off like this, so I'll let you go first. But what is your favorite thing about GMAX Urshifu Rapid Strike?
I mean, the way it looks and its move, that basically has to be it. It's not even a competitive thing. It's just its attacks are so cool, and GMAX Rapid Flow. Honestly, I like it. I like GMAX One Blow a little bit better in terms of how it looks, but I think GMAX Rapid Flow looks really cool, and I love the way they look when they Gigantamax.
This is actually the first time where I sit down with someone and they say something about the aesthetics, about them being their favorite thing, and I'm like, yes, 100%. For some reason, I don't know what it is about Urshifu Rapid Strike and Single Strike. Everything about them, it's perfect. I love everything about it in terms of the aesthetics. At this point, though, we always talk about stats. Stats are very important for these specific Pokemon, especially with Gmax when you're looking at something as broken as the Urshifu. In my eyes, the stats are pretty much perfect. Obviously, there's a bit of a weakness in special defense, but with the Crown Tundra coming out, do you think there's another issue with the speed stat potentially?
No. I think that it's what just doesn't push it over the edge. That and the fact that it's water, which makes a big difference in singles when it comes to doubles, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But I honestly think that speed tier is great because it's just enough to be checked by base 100s. And even then, some of them it can even Aqua Jet, like Volcarona or faster Mon like that, Cinderace potentially. So I think its speed tier is perfect for what it is, especially when it comes to base 100 HP and base 100 defense. It's at base 60 special defense and that speed tier. They need it to be this. I think they definitely need it to be this.
Without it, like you said, it would push it over the top. I think that before the Crown Tundra came out, it was obviously a lot scarier because now you have Pokemon like Zapdos, Tapu Koko, the Laddies, Tornadus, Therian especially, are just going to be coming in and offensively checking Urshifu to an extent that really it didn't see that much beforehand because they check it with super effective moves from stab and they resist Urshifu stab options, either the water or the fighting type attacks. Honestly, other than that though, its speed is, for me, one of the bigger downsides, but it has max airstream, so it doesn't really lose out on much. And I guess we'll take this moment to switch over and talk about some of its moves, I guess, in terms of coverage, because there's a lot.
Yeah, I think actually that's one of the big things where this Pokemon misses out versus the single strike variant, just because while water and fighting is super good coverage, there's a lot of Pokemon in between that can wall this. And if you're looking at Battle Stadium singles, for instance, where you can Dynamax and play with it, you got the combination of Amoonguss plus Toxapex. If you run Zen Headbutt for those, then you don't have a super effective move versus potentially Dragapult, or if you run Thunder Punch to hit Toxapex and something like Primarina or Azumarill, then you miss out on Toxapex. Oh, not Toxapex. You miss out on Amoonguss. You miss out on bulky grasses. So it's interesting. I feel like water and fighting is really, really good coverage, and the fact that it can max airstream is probably its biggest thing for it, since it can boost. But I also feel like it kind of misses out because it's a Gigantamax, if that makes sense. For instance, any other Dynamax Mon would set up the rain for itself, which would make its next move stronger. This one, I mean, it's really cool that it breaks through max guard, but I feel like who the hell cares when you had a move before that could crit every single turn, right? Or if you were just Dynamax, you could go for your water and just make your rain stronger the next turn, or even look at Max Knuckle versus Close Combat, the power difference as well. But I mean, the biggest thing about Gigantamax is the fact that it can kind of snowball either way, just because of the fact that it gets the it uses acrobatics to get the speed boost, and then it just uses Max Knuckle, and I think it gets a lot better when it's done being Gigantamax too.
Yeah.
But the overall bulk is just crazy for it. That's the big thing about it.
I mean, specifically with the Gmax Urshifus, I find that they're not going to be the type of Pokemon that's going to take advantage of the Gigantamax when they're in their Gmax form. It's mostly going to be done after the fact.
Exactly.
And that's really a change compared to a lot of different Pokemon that you would see. Something like a Gmax Charizard would mostly be doing the majority of its damage when it's using its Gmax Wildfire and its max airstreams. Something like, I guess, a Gmax Blast with max Cannonade. But in terms of coverage, the one thing I feel like it's missing out on specifically, and I guess it's because there's a dark form of this, but some way to hit ghost types reliably with super effective damage, or psychic types specifically, like a knockoff, a Darkest Lariat, Shadow Claw, something along those lines. I think this thing should get Shadow Punch just based on the way it looks, but I mean, it just missing out on that specifically makes it a lot more difficult for you to break through them, because a lot of them will have recovery options, a lot of them will run rocky helmets. So if you're in your non-Gmax form, Surging Strikes is going to make you take 25, 50% basically. It's crazy, and that's the problem. But other than that, it gets coverage for pretty much every situation: Elemental Punches, Poison Jab, and Iron Head for fairy types. There's just it's everything that you need, you basically get with Urshifu outside of something for psychic types.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the big things, again, just going back to its speed tier as well, that 322 is very important when it comes to like Battle Stadium, because you're just above Mimikyu, and you bust Disguise and you can hit it with other Surging Strikes after, so you're good check to things like that. Like, and even just talking about this Pokemon, like outside of just Gigantamaxing, it can Focus Sash plus Counter, which is pretty cool. Both of the Urshifus like to do that, and then you have Aqua Jet to pick off an opponent that's opposing Focus Sash. And likewise, unlike its counterpart, it can actually break through like Sash Lycanroc leads or Sash leads in general, just because of Surge Strike. I really, really like that about it. But yeah, as you mentioned as well, it's just one of those mods that takes full advantage of its Gigantamax when it's done, like setting up electric terrain so your Thunder Punch is stronger versus a Azumarill, or getting the speed that way you can hopefully do enough to check a Dragapult that's like at half with Surging Strike.
I deal mostly with Draft League on this channel, and that's kind of the bread and butter that we have. And obviously, Gmax isn't for every single Draft League. The leagues that do allow it usually have a clause for items where they say it's only a Pokeball that you can hold. Others say, nah, screw it, you can hold whatever you want. Personally, I believe that if you are allowing Gmax Urshifu in your league, you cannot let it have items. I think at that point it's too excessive. You get a tier 1 plus the item on top of that. It becomes way too strong, way too difficult to deal with. A friend of mine just went and got 27 kills with it in 11 weeks. It's multiple 6-0s. It's way too powerful. But if you could have an item on it, I mean, for me, I have 3 that I think about. I want to hear what you think about that, if you could have an item on it.
I mean, the obvious ones are like Weakness Policy, for sure. I think that's broken on any Gigantamax or Dynamax, especially one that can raise its speed and raise its attack in the same thing. The other ones, Life Orb makes a lot of sense. And I guess the final would be if you're not using a choice item, because, for example, like if you're using Choice Scarf or Choice Band, if you're using Choice Scarf and you get your Max Knuckle attack boost, and then you lock yourself into Surging Strike after you have a Scarf like boosted on, and Life Orb can do very similar. But I also think that like even just a Resist Berry is really good to help mitigate that special weakness, and kind of just go through there, like maybe like a bulk up Acrobatics or a bulk up whatever could help you break through. Well, yeah, let's say bulk up plus Acrobatics, not even necessarily for the Resist Barrier, but like for beating your counters like Buzzwole and things like that. Or it can even help versus something like Amoonguss, because you get your Resist and your Acrobatics is max base power as well. Or you can hit them with the Max Airstream as your Gigantamax itself. So.
Yeah. I love having Assault Vest on this thing just to boost up its pretty poor special defense stat. That way you can take it from other Gmax Pokemon that are more specially based. And the protective pads for when you're not in your Gmax form can be very useful, so you don't take that 50% from helmet. Yeah. I found myself using that pretty much maybe like around half the time when I had this thing. Obviously that was the regular Urshifu, but I can't imagine it being too much difference when you're looking at Gmax Urshifu.
I mean, I do feel like Dark plus Fighting is a lot stronger, because the only coverage you need to get your neutral is like Poison Jab for the most part, or Iron Head, since Dark plus Fighting will hit everything, and then the fairies you miss out on all get Iron Headed.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's or Poison Jab, so like I like that one. While Water Fighting might be considered like stronger stab in the metagame itself, though it's not.
No,
it's not. Dark Fighting is way better offensive stab.
In terms of what you hit, the importance of hitting those things, it's way more valuable.
Exactly. And I mean, I'd much rather use Poison Jab than Thunder Punch.
Easily.
Because the 30% chance to poison them, and plus it's stronger, like, there's a lot going for it. But this mon can't get away with any of that. It has to run like Thunder Punch or Zen Headbutt or anything like that.
Compared to Single Strike, it has to have coverage, versus Urshifu, which can basically run Fighting and Wicked Blow and Sucker Punch, and then have the rest of its teammates pick off whatever fairy type may be coming in. But speaking of opposing fairy types, there needs to be a way that Urshifu Rapid Strike deals with those and deals with its weaknesses. Do you have any Pokemon that you would think of to pair really well with Urshifu Rapid Strike?
I mean, very easy. Steel type like Ferrothorn probably covers everything that Urshifu hates, right? It covers Primarina, it covers... I don't want to say Togekiss, because Togekiss is offensive threat, so Surgeon Strike is going to do a million to it anyway. But it covers Primarina, it can sit on Toxapex and Leech Seed plus Taunt or excuse me, Leech Seepa's knockoff or Thunder Wave. It covers Azu depending on the set too. If you want to go a little bit more offensive steel, and depending on what, well, you're ridiculously lucky if you get this, but I like Melmetal plus Urshifu, but there's no way you're getting Melmetal plus Urshifu.
Not happening.
And yeah, and if Magearna is allowed in yours, there's no way you're getting that. You might end up, if you're depending on your points, you may get lucky and get Heatran plus Urshifu, but I'm not. Even then, that's like I feel like Ferrothorn is something you could probably get away with. H-Slash as well, depending on how your stuff goes. But I also like I said, grass types like Amoonguss too. I think Amoonguss is really good, especially with the Regenerator, the Spore. The naturally resisting things like Primarina too. Can run Assault Vest as well with like Seed Bomb as well to be like Calm Mind variants. So I think the bulky grass is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
If you need a value pick as well, I was looking a lot at Diancie, like regular Diancie.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that its ability to lure steals and its ability, not the steals are a problem for this mon, but like, for example, if you're not running protective pads and your opponent has Rocky Helmet, Ferrothorn, and you go for Surging Strike, you're taking so much. So like Diancie has Mystical Fire now, and it has a lot of stuff, a lot of tools that can actually be annoying and break, and that's a lower tier pick that I would look at rather.
I mean, it gets Baton Pass as well, so if you are expecting a Steel type to be coming in, you Baton Pass out, get into your Urshifu, fire off a close combat, or start setting up with bulk ups, and basically you can start snowballing from there. For me, I usually look at the more defensive side, kind of like how you just did with Ferrothorn, but I want to kind of take it to a different approach and look more offensively. Cinderace is fantastic because it really checks all the grass types that would be coming in to be taking these Surging Strikes, firing off a Pyro Ball to nuke those, and it's just having that speed as well with the momentum in U-turn makes it a formidable threat. I mean, you can just U-turn out, in and out with Cinderace and Urshifu, causing problems, getting to the matchup that you really want, and that's going to let Urshifu shine the most. I also love Vikavolt, specifically because of webs, but also because it beats the waters, grasses, and psychic types that Urshifu doesn't really appreciate, that are bulky enough and can also run pads to deal with it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't mean you have to run your max Airstream all the time. You can go for a couple max Knuckles, you can go for your max Rapid Flow, and then just kind of snowball from there, and instead of having to boost up your speed like you would normally. I also think Dark's pretty important. Incineroar, Zarude, same deal. U-turn, Intimidate in terms of Incineroar, Parting Shot as well. Just really annoying for your opponent to deal with, and Fighting, Psychic, and Dark are usually really good cores that people try to build around, so you can definitely go with some of those.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I didn't even think that you would get Cinderace if you got Urshifu, but I guess because it's a Gmax, you get it in a different tier itself. Also, like, again, defensively too, Rose Raid gives you like mixed offensive plus defensive Pokemon. Rotom forms are really good too, just for what they cover.
Absolutely.
They're all like,
they cover pretty much everything. I also quickly want to mention just Metagross and Scizor. They're bulky enough to take hits from fairy types. They have priority to deal with them as well, and they can really pressure them probably better than most other poison types could, and most other steel types as well.
Metagross also has Iron Defense plus Body Press. Well, it has Body Press now, so it makes a big difference for it offensively too.
No, for sure. I mean, like, Body Press has been it's a big boon to that thing, and can really make it so that they can kind of break for each other really well. Even if you're not running a more physically offensive set, you can be running more of a defensive set and still be effective at beating down fairy types, but also potential Pokemon like steel types, opposing steel types that Metagross will be dealing with. But now in terms of, we always end off like this. We always give these Pokemon a rank 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute best of the best. Where would you give the ranking of this Pokemon?
As a Gmax compared to
Gmax
opposing Gmax?
Yeah, specifically compared to other Gmaxes that you'll be facing off.
Okay, and am I allowed to use items in this?
Yep, you're allowed to use items. Well, you can choose items or you can choose no items, whatever you go with. I'll go off of that.
Oh, well, if it's items, it's an easy 8 or 9. I mean, the fact that I can use items plus max Airstream and boost through makes a big difference in taking a hit. I can beat a lot of Pokemon. In fact, in terms of Gmaxes that I think would be better, Charizard is a big one. That just offensively, I think it's great, especially if you can use items. I think it's great. And then there's Grimmsnar, which is a fantastic Gmax too, and there's the other Urshifu, which I think would only be like, those are mons that I think would only be better just based on their move pools. I mean, Gengar's up there too, but that's like, those are the only mons I put above it personally.
Yeah, I mean,
Cinderace as well. I like Cinderace, but I don't know if Cinderace should be allowed with Gmax even.
If it gets Libero, I think definitely not. If it did not get Libero, then I would say it's definitely below Urshifu Rapid Strike. Personally, I think this is sitting at like a 9.5, maybe even a 10 on 10. If you can use items, there's a really solid argument for why this would be the best Gmax in the entire game, and I think it's a very fair argument to make. I'm not going to kind of get into that right now. I'll save it for another video, but at the end of the day, the cover that you get, the speeds here, the fact that you can boost your speed up as well. You have insanely powerful stats. A lot of times people try and break past Gmaxes with sub, protect, wish stalling. You can't protect past this thing anymore. That's what makes it so scary and a really big problem, especially in the singles metagame.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I would say Charizard above it is just because max airstream plus setting up your sun, you're just a nuke after, both in and outside.
Yeah, I mean, well, Max Charizard can't even set up its sun. It's with wildfire traps for.
But if you're using Charizard, bro, you're definitely getting Torkoal or Ninetales. My bad, I should have you're not getting Charizard just to get Charizard. Like Torkoal should for sure be on that team.
Fair
you
enough.
Get the solar power. You have a nuke. Like it's an easy nuke for no reason. My bad, that's my fault.
Hey, I know people, they'd run just manual Sunny Day to get that solar power boost, set up the airstream, and it's GG from there.
Yeah, I'm just putting some damn work.
All right, well,
it looks cool too.
There's so many cool Gmaxes. Like, there's so many I have to cover still. I'm only on episode 20 now out of like 30 something, so we got a long way to go. But did you have anything else you want to mention when it came to Gmax Urshifu Rapid Strike?
No, like I said, I do think that Dynamax is a little bit better for certain things, just because of the fact that it sets the rain for itself. But that's like the only thing that sets it apart. Besides that, being able to bust through Max Scar is cool. The extra chip damage might make a difference, you know. And also, a lot of people like to try and stall out your Gigantamaxes too by doing stuff like that, or Dynamaxes by doing stuff like that. So just again, being able to get the extra chip, and it's just the Pokemon that benefits more when it's outside of it from actually Gigantamaxing. It's a good mon. It's a good mon.
Exactly. And just because it benefits more from being out of Gmax doesn't mean it's still not an amazingly busted Pokemon. If you're getting this, you're very, very lucky, especially in Draft League. There's not going to be much that can contend with a Gmax Urshifu.
Fantastic mon.
All right, well, you guys have heard what we think now, so make sure to leave a comment with your thoughts on Gmax Urshifu Rapid Strike down in the comments below. Some Pokemon you might want to pair with it, and whether or not you think it should even be allowed in standard Gmax leagues. And if you guys want to learn more about other Gmax Pokemon, I have a playlist in the description and in the cards with, now at this point, 20 videos, so you guys can go and check those out. And of course, if you guys like competitive Pokemon content, consider subscribing to the channel. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. Joey, I am really grateful for you taking time out of your schedule to join me today. Want to let everyone know what you got going on.
Hey, well, you know, I'm just uploading shit on lives all the time, and Wi-Fi battles, playing Moveset guys, and just fun videos, I think, all around. I love competitive Pokemon too. Been uploading for a long time, and I don't plan on stopping as long as I can. So thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime. All of his links are in the description. Remember to use code AIM for 30% off G Fuel. Let's see if we can get him that shaker.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, hopefully you can get it soon. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.
Peace.